video on a couple of things I just want to have a quick play around with. So as part of a bigger project, I just need to kind of do something. I want to see if we can make sauerkraut from carrots, and I want to see if we can naturally ferment without the use of an added yeast carrot peelings. So I'm just curious about the sauerkraut, and also there's the I think it's an alkali that sauerkraut makes, and then I want to see if we can ferment the carrots, because if we can ferment them and turn them into alcohol, then we can turn that alcohol then into a vinegar. So I'm kind of quite curious. I'm doing two things at once. So there is, for the sauerkraut, I haven't peeled the carrots. I've just taken the end off and whipped that bit off. But I've julienned with a mandolin with that the carrots, and then you add about 2.5% of the weight of the carrots in salt. So there's 500 grams worth of carrots, shredded carrots in there, and there's about 12 grams worth of salt. I've used rock salt. I've used rock salt. I haven't used the fine salt because fine salt's got other things in it, and anti-caking chemicals in it and that type of stuff. So that's that. What you do is you shred it, add the salt, squish it around with your hands for 10 minutes until all the liquid starts coming out, and then we're going to pack it into one of these jars and then put a bit of cling film on top and a weight. Now and then, so these are just the peelings from the carrot. So if there's any natural yeast on the carrot, it will be in the peelings on the carrot, because it'll be on the outside. The yeast won't go on the inside. So if there is any yeast, these carrots will have been washed from the supermarket, but they still would have picked up a little bit of yeast. I don't think they'll be treated with anything to kill off any bacteria on the outside, because they've got quite a short shelf life. So if there is any yeast, to be on the outside. So that's why I'm just using the peelings. And if we're using the peelings, it's a waste product that we can then turn into something else, and then we can still use the insides of the carrots. So there was about 175 grams worth of carrot peelings and a few trimmings, not the tops, just like a few of the bottoms. And then we've put in 350 milliliters of water and 2 teaspoons worth of sugar. We'll give this a blend. Because we want the yeast will then be able to start breaking things down, multiplying a lot easier. I've got a runny nose. I haven't got a cold, I've just got a runny nose. And no tissue. So we can collect yeast using just grapes. So what you do is you grab the grapes and then you just squish them up and put them in a container with a bit of muslin cloth on the top. I've got a bit of muslin cloth, we have, I'm sure, somewhere. Yes, I've got a bit of muslin cloth on the top to stop anything nasty getting in, like fruit flies and all that kind of stuff, although that's probably not going to be too much of a problem this time of year. So you do it with grapes, so hopefully we'll be able to do it with carrots. If it starts to ferment, what we'll do is we'll then later strain off the carrot puree. So that can go in there like that, and then a bit of muslin on top. It's clean. It's just that I use it for all kinds of things and it gets stained, so I'm not putting something dirty on the top of it. So leave that on the windowsill. Well, won't be in direct sunlight, but it'll be on the windowsill for a few days. And then this we need to pack into here, like this. And then we need to, maybe I should have done this before. No, we're fine. So we've got both the recipes, and then if it works, I've just got an idea for something. And if I've got an idea, I need to, like a long-term kind of project. So, but if I've got an idea for something, I always just like to. My problem is I go swimming, and you can't do anything else when you're swimming apart from think. or I go out walking and I think about things and I'm curious about things. So I've always got something. I always need some kind of project to be able to think about. A bit of an active mind, to say the least. So that in there like that, and then we'll need another bit of muslin cloth to put on top, same as that. Just wash my hands, and then we need there we go. We just need something to press this down so it gets completely submerged underneath the liquid, and bang the camera at the same time. So it might need a bit of excess liquid in that. Now you use cabbage to make sauerkraut, and within the leaves of the cabbage is all the bacteria that you need to start the sauerkraut making process. But hopefully we'll have those chemicals, those bacteria, don't know why I said chemicals, so we'll have those bacteria on the peelings of the carrot, and that's why I use the peelings. I didn't peel the carrots, so I need to squish that down more. So I'll squish that, there we go. So we'll squish this down more and get the liquid to come to the top, and then we'll cap it off with a bit of, we'll get rid of all these bits of carrot around the outside, but you can see that there's the juice there sloshing around. So it kind of wants to be submerged underneath the juice. So we'll get a bit of cling film, put it on top, and then we'll probably put a little jar on top of that just to hold everything down so it's completely submerged underneath the liquid. But it's been a couple of years since I made any sauerkraut. I think. What did I do? I think I made sauerkraut out of Brussels sprouts. It's alright actually. It's alright. Just goes to show, doesn't it? So what I should do, crush it down a bit more. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We've only used kilos worth of carrots to faff around with. And if it works, it'd be interesting. So, like that. Wiper on there, bit of cling film on top, and then a jar. I think just something sat inside it just to keep everything submerged underneath the liquid. We'll be back in a few days to see if anything is happening. So, I think we've got some fermentation because we can see bubbles forming. What's happened is a lot of the vegetable, the carrot pulp, has risen to the top, which you kind of think, well, it's the air that's pushed that to the top, but it did that anyway. So there was pulp at the bottom, and then liquid, and then pulp at the top, forming a bit of a raft. So, but it's that raft that is stopping the bubbles from rising too much. They are rising, and you can kind of see that the top wants to, it's billowing out a little bit, as you can kind of see there. It's billowing in the center. So that's working, or it's rotting, and that's methane that it's giving off, rather than carbon dioxide through the fermentation process. But we'll find out. We'll carry on. And what I'll do is, if it does look like it's fermenting, what I'll do is I'll strain it, get rid of the pulp, keep the liquid, add that a little bit of sugar to that liquid, and then we'll get that fermenting in a bottle with a balloon or an airlock on top of it to kind of carry on the fermenting process. Now, this looks like it's working as well. We have got bubbles forming around the top, so it looks like that's, if we can focus, we've got some bubbles there, so it looks like we're turning into sauerkraut. It doesn't taste very vinegary at the moment, sauerkrauty. There's not much sauerkrauty flavour to it, smell to it, but that might just be those gaps. Yeah, there's some gaps here. So there's some gaps there where that looks like it's an air pocket as well. So that is hopefully turning into a sauerkraut. Although, is it a sauerkraut if it's not got cabbage in it? I don't know. But we are. Oh, it could be no. Can it be kimchi if it hasn't got cabbage in it either? I don't know. But anyway, it looks like it's working. So just a quick update. What we'll do is I've just risen this up a little bit higher. So we'll have a poke in with a knife and see if we can get some bubbles to kind of escape. But it looks like there's some bubbles there, doesn't there? That's certainly bubbling there. We can see. Well, I can see. So there's definitely some bubbles there. And it's not formed a... Well, there's loads of bubbles there, isn't there? Those there. So it's not... Yeah, there's loads of bubbles. That's definitely starting to ferment. So it's not got any kind of bacteria on the top of it or any kind of mold growth. So fingers crossed that is starting to ferment and turn into alcohol. Let's just give it a smell. No, it smells carroty. It's not got like a sour kind of flavour to it. So I think it's actually fermenting. So fingers crossed, we're back. If it fails, or after I've strained it into a bottle. This carrot that I'm trying to turn it into alcohol has gone gloopy. Now, you might be able to see that, but it's gone gloopy. So I don't know what that is, but I do know that when you leave carrots, when carrots start to go off, they go slimy. So I'm thinking that that's what that slime is. Now, I have sieved off a little bit of liquid, and that's not too bad. So what am I going to do with this? If there is natural yeast in there, it will be collecting. So do we squeeze? Let's see if we can squeeze. Let's see what happens when we squeeze. So the liquid underneath has naturally come out of there. So let's see what happens when we squeeze. So that's naturally come out. It's not too gloopy. We'll give it a taste. Don't really want to, but I won't mind you. No, I don't want to be puking my guts up tomorrow, do I? But anyway, or having fevered dreams tonight. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? So are we getting any? Give it a squeeze. See, it's slimy. You see. So it's slimy, so that maybe suggests that it's rotting, but it doesn't smell like it's rotting. It doesn't smell like it's rotting, but it certainly looks like mucus. So, do we take some of this, let it down with a little bit of water, add some sugar to it, and see if we can see what we can do? Do we take the pulp that's going to be left in this bag, and do we puree that down with a little bit of water and sugar and try and, because to ferment we can't just ferment sugar in liquid. We need some kind of vegetable or fruit in there to kind of ferment it, or we can ferment the whey from yogurt or cheese. We can ferment that, but that's got something in it. That's not just a liquid that's got a sugar in it. It's got other things in it as well. So I don't know, but it smells a little bit sour. Let's give it a taste. Doesn't taste bad. Doesn't taste bad. So we can ferment things that are a little bit thicker. So if you think about balsamic vinegar, from what I read, what I'm led to believe, what you do is you actually cook the grapes, then extract the juice, and then reduce it, and then ferment that thickened concentrated juice, and then turn that into the vinegar, and that's where you kind of get the consistency from. I just thought it was vinegar that had been slowly evaporated over time, but that would mean, but then if you took white vinegar like a acai vinegar, doesn't, if you were to evaporate it, it doesn't go thick and syrupy. So balsamic vinegar it gets its syrupiness from you concentrating the sugar in the grapes. I suppose a little bit of vegetable matter as well. But right, so we've squeezed. So it doesn't taste bad. This is a long video I'm going to need. But so what we could do is we could take the yeast is going to, if there is some yeast, it's going to be in there, it's going to be in there, it's going to be in there. So do we take that liquid, thin it down, add that liquid to that liquid? No, let's do another. Let's make even more washing up. That's what we'll do. Let's keep these liquids, these liquids separate, and let's pour that into there, and then put some water in and see if we can get some more liquid out of that. So we'll add some liquid, we'll puree it, and then see if it passes through this cloth again. We'll give this cloth a wash, and then we'll have a think about what we're going to do. Otherwise this video is going to be ridiculously long. So I have pureed that carrot up, added a bit of water, and extracted the water using the cloth, and we're left with that, which is either some sugar to it as well. So it's slightly sweeter, but it's not as gloopy. So that's the stuff we squeezed out, and that's gloopy. And then this is the stuff that naturally drained out, that's not so gloopy. So let's do. There's definitely going to be more yeast in those two, if it is yeast, than in that. So we kind of need to do a mixture. This is a faff. I don't know why I started. So let's pour this into a clean bottle. This one, and then we'll top up with a little bit of the other. There's something naturally came out of it. It's not as gloopy. So there will be some yeast in there. And now let's just add a bit of extra sugar. Let's just add a little bit of extra sugar, just so we know that there's something in there for yeast to feed on, if it is yeast. And then let's put some of that in. And then we'll see what happens. And then I've got a balloon. That'll do. That'll do. So just give it a swoosh around, and it'll catch that bit of sugar that's off the top. Those in there to wash. And then I've got a balloon. I think it might have a hole in it. I'm not too sure, but we'll put a balloon over the top of it. So this is going to act as an airlock. It's just a cheap way of making an airlock. It's a balloon. So, and what will happen is we'll be able to let it ferment. So if the thing with an airlock is that it takes quite a bit of pressure for those proper airlocks that you buy for making alcohol. They take quite a bit of pressure before the bubbles start moving the liquid in the this is same faffing, aren't I? This is one of my videos are too long. That and a waffle. People have started commenting. Quite rude, actually. But just goes to show that I'm on the right track. Guess I'm not making videos for them. They can watch TikTok. I think it's going to work. Alright, so get a better idea if we're actually getting fermented by using a balloon, because the balloon will inflate. So it's floppy at the moment. So as the air pressure builds up, because of the release of carbon dioxide, that balloon will come inflated. And then we'll put a hole in it if it hasn't got one already. It might have got one already, I might have used it for something else. But we'll put a hole in it, and then the gas can escape. And then that will act as an airlock, so nothing can get in. So no other types of bacteria, or creeper crawlies, or anything like that, or fungus, or anything like that can get in, because there's pressure that's building up, and it can't get in, because the air will stop it from getting in. So we'll see what happens. Quick update on these. This is definitely fermenting. It's not fermenting particularly quickly, because the balloon hasn't been really kind of quite inflated, but I can see that there are bubbles rising. It's slowed down a little bit over these last few days, so I don't know if it's run out of food or it's finally finished, if it's finished, but I don't think it'll be finished because it wasn't really fermented for long enough. Let's just give it a bit of a taste and hope we wake up in the morning, eh? It still tastes sweet, and it tastes like fizzy fermented. It's quite nice, isn't it? That's remarkable. Yeah. So that's kind of turned into like a fizzy pop. That's interesting, isn't it? So let's give it a bit more of a feed and see if anything kind of happens. Now there are lots of different types of yeast. I'm just knocking the camera. So there are lots of different types of yeast. So we don't actually know which yeast we've caught that was on the outside of the. That'd be enough sugar. About half a teaspoon, something like that. And not that bullet. So we don't know what yeast we've actually caught. So we won't know what kind of alcohol kind of content we get to. We won't kind of know what flavour we kind of it'll kind of produce. But we know that there's yeast in there, and we know. Look at that. Why's that gone? That's gone super fizzy now. As you can see, that's happened. So that's obviously down to the sugar getting to the bottom. I would have thought that was the carbon dioxide has had something to grab hold of in the sugar. So that's why it's kind of fizzy. But it's also kind of gone fizzy because it's a bit like an old style fizzy pop. So when you add, if you take a glass of Coca-Cola and you add some sugar to it, it'd fizz up. So that's probably that reason. But anyway, that's fermenting, and it ferments, it turns into alcohol, then it can turn into vinegar. But also, you kind of go, oh, it's a carrot fizzy pop. That's kind of quite interesting, isn't it? So this is the sauerkraut. How's it smell? Bit carroty. More water's come out. So let's give it a taste. So there are some bubbles. That's definitely turning into sauerkraut. That's definitely turning into sauerkraut. That's good, isn't it? So just a fresh disc of plastic on top, just to keep everything down. And the creepy crawlies out, and I think I'll just put a bit of what we call it on top of it as well. A bit of muslin cloth on the top of it, just to kind of stop anything wanting to get in. So I did notice some flies flying around it, and they do get attracted to this whole thing. So that's definitely, they're both definitely working. So we can, as part of this bigger experiment, we can have something acidic to add to food that we can make ourselves instead of having to buy vinegar or use a fruit like a lemon. We can actually produce our own vinegar stroke acidic liquid. But there we go, just a quick update. Well, not quick, like 4 minutes. This video's too long. Let's have a look at these carrot experiments. I need a fork. So maybe about 3 weeks old now, maybe a little bit more. So this carrot juice ferments when it's I've been putting it on top of the radiator. We're in the middle of winter now. Are we in the middle of winter? Are we still in autumn? I don't know, but it's cold. So I've been putting it on top of the radiator, and when it's on top of the radiator, it ferments. Bubbles start coming up. So I think it's I don't think it's particularly virulent. Is that the right word? Form of yeast that I've collected from the carrots, but it is fermenting. But it does do that when it's kind of slowing down. So I think that's just down to the weather. I'll keep putting it on top of the radiators when the heating's on, and it'll carry on fermenting, and then we'll take it off, and then we'll turn it into vinegar. So this is the sauerkraut. So got a little bit of white on top, but that's kind of quite normal for sauerkraut. So we'll just dip down. How does it smell? It's a little bit fermented. How does it taste? That's definitely sauerkraut. That's definitely sauerkraut. So that's interesting. So as part of my bigger experiment, we can now get an acid or an alkali, I can't remember which one it is, something that will bring a sharpness, there we go, something that will bring a sharpness to dishes we can actually get from carrots. So that's kind of quite interesting. So we can pickle things, we can turn milk into curds and have a little bit of a basic cheese type of thing, make ricotta or something like that, using that the sharpness, the acidity in that. And also it's sauerkraut as well, so that's going to add, if we add it to dishes, it's going to bring a different layer of flavour. So we can certainly create some kind of acid. So that's good as part of the bigger experiment. We'll be back when I've had enough of that fermenting. Is it? I can't see any bubbles rising. I can't see any bubbles rising, but it's particularly cold today. There's a frost on the ground and it hasn't really cleared, and we're coming up to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'll carry on fermenting that as we kind of go. We'll put that in a smaller container with a lid on, and it can live in the fridge or somewhere cold, and we might use it at some point. Right, let's have a look at this carrot vinegar. So how long have I left it with that on? A month, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, maybe a month. But I have found when we collect wild yeast that it turns to alcohol really slowly, which this one took forever, and then it turns to vinegar rather kind of quite quickly as well. So you don't, when you're collecting wild wheat yeast, that's one of the things you've got to kind of think about. Those two things. You don't kind of have those problems when you buy yeast to make your own alcohol. So you don't. It's a different strain of yeast, and it doesn't kind of seem to have those kind of problems when you buy your yeast instead of collecting it wildly. So let's have a taste. Although my taste buds will be a little bit off because I've got a little bit of a cold. Just got through it. So how does it taste? Does it taste vinegary? Yes, that's definitely vinegar, or definitely turning to vinegar. So there we go. Now as part of the bigger experiment, that I know that we can do numerous things with carrots, not just eat them. We can make, mind you, I've got this sauerkraut as well, haven't I? So let's have a taste of this sauerkraut. This carrot sauerkraut as well. So this is the same age as that, for all the faffing around we did. So, but I put a lid on this, and I've had it in the fridge, so that will have slowed down the, or even stopped the sauerkrauting process. I don't even know what that means. The fermenting process. But anyway, so we know that we can do that with carrots. We know that we can ferment them using the natural yeast on the carrot skins, and then we can make a vinegar. So, from my point of view, that's really interesting. And then we can also turn them into sauerkraut. So I want the juice, a bit of the juice. See, what's happened is that it's wanted to expand it. So originally, when we squeezed it, all the juice kind of came out of it, and now over time the juice has been sucked back into it. So how does it taste? Wow, that's interesting. That is interesting. That's really nice. It's not very sauerkrauty. So some sauerkrauts can be really kind of quite not acidic, like alcohol. I'm sure sauerkraut's alkaline rather than acidic. I think, probably wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things. Generally falling forward through life. But that's nice, is that? Let's stick that fork in again. Okay. But that's not too sharp. Let's use that word instead. That's not too sharp at all. That probably nice with some caraway in it. Yeah, that probably be really nice with some caraway in it, like carrot and caraway, or carrot and coriander. Sauerkraut, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it? So, they work. So as part of my bigger experiment, which we might just stay as an experiment more than anything else, those both work. We'll let that turn to a little bit more vinegar, and then we'll do another video seeing if we can use that vinegar to curdle a bit of milk and make some curds, which will be another part of the experiment. But anyway,